the agenda. Right now we have executive session posted as last. Karis North would very much like to participate in this, and I agree that her participation would be worthwhile. I'd like to bring that up first, followed immediately by the 43 Elm Street Unit 2 update, renovation update, and then take up the steering committee, and last, the Heather Drive bid update. It's assuming, of course, that there are no public comments to be made from the audience.
There are no public comments. Also of note, Paul Kears expressed that he is unable to attend, so he will not be giving an update. He's at the 9/11 ceremony.
Okay, all right. Fair enough. Is that reordering of the agenda, is it acceptable to each of you?
Yes.
I'm fine with it.
Okay. Rob Jeffers, you're muted.
Good morning.
Good morning. Please note that Rob Jeffers has joined the meeting. Now we have 6 members in attendance. It is 8:49. Rob, I've asked to reorder the agenda so that we can take into account the executive session first. And the point here is to make sure that we can entertain commentary by our counsel, Karis North. Her timing is such that that's the best way to do it. Next up would be the 43 Elm update, followed by the Affordable Housing Steering Committee update, which has now been tabled. And then last but not least, the Heather Drive bid update. If that's acceptable, then to each of you, and hearing no objections, it sounds or seems as if it is. The chair makes a motion that we go into executive session under Mass General Laws, Chapter 30A, subsection 21, for the permissible reason number 6, consider the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property. If the chair declares that an open meeting may be have a detrimental effect on the negotiating position of the public body. The real estate at hand is 43 Elm Street, Unit 2, and we would be discussing resale information. That is the motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, thank you. Motion and a second. Let's go around the room. I'm sorry, is there any discussion on this? Hearing none. Rob, I assume that you're by raising your hand, you're voting aye. Okay, thank you. Ted Carr?
Aye.
Okay, Paul Grady?
Paul Grady, aye.
Cindy Matheson?
Cindy Matheson, aye.
And last but not least, in our hearts and minds, Rob Jeffers.
Rob Jeffers, aye.
All right, great. All right, we have no Affordable Housing Steering Committee update, so we'll take that off the table for this agenda because Paul Kears could not attend. 43 Elm Street, we have had some discussions about that already, and Rob Henry being silenced. If I may, Michelle, are you there?
I am.
Okay. Given that Rob is muted at the moment and unable to contribute to this, can you summarize where we stand right now, and if all of you have taken a look at the RJ Barrow and Son estimate?
I only sent that to you and Rob.
All right. So Michelle, you have the estimate, correct?
I do have the estimate.
All right. Just because you've been working so closely with Rob on this, and you're a better voice for it than I am, can you summarize the work that remains to be done, just so that everybody here is clear on where we are?
Sure. So I'm just going to rewind a little bit to a walkthrough that we had with our building inspector, John Hallen, and the electrical inspector, Jimmy Clark. They put together a punch list of items that needed to be completed at Elm Street, not only for code compliance work, but also just completion to put it on the market. Some of those items include, completing the kitchen, laying rugs in the bedrooms, finishing off the dining area, putting GFI receptacles in. There is, in the estimate, Bob Barrows does highlight the fact that the radiators that are in place, the actual if you will, for a better word, the dummy mechanisms that cover the radiators have been thrown away. So those also have to be replaced. The bathrooms, one of the bathrooms needs a vanity countertop faucet. I don't believe anyone has tested the plumbing to make sure that everything is flowing properly, but that will be something included in Bob Barrows' work for the Affordable Housing Trust. Bob did just respond to my text. He indicated he needs approximately 3 months to make sure that he doesn't disappoint. He's hoping he can get it done sooner than that, but again, it'll all depend on the subcontractors and when they can get to the property for installation. I think there's also some decisions to be made by the AHT as to the quality and finish of the work. What we were talking about with Bob was just builder's grade. Let's just get it done. It will look very nice. And we're trying to get in there with the builder's grade quality. So we're not going high end, but that is for the AHT to decide. And those decisions will come in when we talk more about appliances and countertops and just those type of finishes. So in Bob's estimate, he will coordinate all of this. As far as purchasing things, the town will purchase it on the Home Depot credit card and the AHT will pay it as they have in the past. And I think that's it for the summary, unless you're looking for more information.
No, I think that does it. The 3 months is disappointing because it really means now we'll have owned this property for 2.5 years before we turn it around. But that's not Mr. Barrows' issue.
Can I ask a couple of questions?
Absolutely.
So the cabinets, at the time the cabinets were ordered for Home Depot, we also paid for the countertop. So I just want to, does
I
everybody
don't
know
think we
that?
did. I don't think we
was-
did.
It was in the original quote from Home Depot.
Yeah, so there's some confusion around that. I also thought we paid for them, but Cassandra had an invoice that suggests that we didn't pay for the countertops yet.
And
So I think
I
we'll
have
need
an
some clarity around that.
Yeah, Michelle, and I'll send you a note from the kitchen department. They've inquired some time ago about when they could come and install the countertops. So
Interesting.
I'll
Okay.
send that along.
Okay.
Yeah,
Also,
Ted, would you,
we did-
would you communicate directly with both Michelle and Rob on
Sure.
these discrepancies?
Sure. The second one, we did get a quote from Home Depot and I sent an invoice to the city for carpeting to be installed. I think it was around
Mhm.
$3,000. Was that ever ordered?
That has not been ordered yet. I do have that quote.
Okay.
We put that order on hold because there's some work that has to be done to the subfloor before we can install carpeting.
Yeah, Ted, a couple of things. First of all, there was a room that was, as we noted earlier, filled with trash that nothing could get done until the trash was removed. And there's a second room that is to be carpeted that apparently has an extraordinarily strong urine odor in it. You may recall that the previous occupants had a doggy daycare in there, and apparently they didn't believe in diapers or taking the dogs out. So either the subfloor has to be torn up and replaced, or certainly sanded out, something like that. So,
Okay.
okay.
And I'm sorry, I just want to note something else. So when Mr. Barrows went and measured the cabinets, it seems as if the installation is off. So he is suggesting that you need to order one more cabinet, which will also throw off the layout of the countertops. So I'm hesitant to I'm hesitant on the countertop installation. I think Home Depot, once the cabinets are set in place, to come and do another laser measurement before we proceed with any countertop ordering.
Okay.
All right. Additional questions here? Hearing none. And Michelle, thank you. Hearing none, let's move on to the last item on our agenda outside of administrative things. And that's an update on the Heather Drive bid. And Michelle, I think that's your area as well.
Yep. Oh, also,
Sure.
Steve, just
Oh,
before
I'm
you left,
sorry. Oh,
sorry,
oh,
just
oh. Go
just
ahead.
before I'm just going through my notes. I'm sorry, everybody. We also have an invoice from Home Depot. We had planned to replace all of the fascia covers for the heats,
Right.
and I see an invoice here. Was that ordered?
No,
that a
that was,
question?
that was
That was
not
not
ordered.
Okay.
Okay.
So,
So that
yeah,
if you don't have copies, if you don't want them or you don't have them, let me know. I'll send them to you.
I would love copies of everything, please.
Okay, very good. Yep.
okay. And yeah, that Michelle, Mr. Barrow noted the missing radiator covers. Those were many of them were missing when the unit was turned over to us, or they were dislodged. And the original bid for Mr. Jones included replacement of those.
Yep. And
Okay.
I do know that the original items that we're talking about here were removed at the time. A different group had been hired by the trust prior to us to basically clean out the unit, and they were removed at that time.
Yeah, I think a lot of them were fairly damaged in any case. So
Yes, they are.
Okay.
Okay. Are we good to move on to the Heather Drive bid update? All right, let's move on to that. Michelle, turn it back to you.
Okay. So I sent Mr. Davis the copy of the purchase and sale agreement. He forwarded a copy to his attorney. We're waiting for red lines to come back. I do have on my calendar today to follow up with him because he did suggest when we spoke a few weeks back that he would like to close this in the month of September. I've heard nothing to suggest that we can't close in the month of September. We just looped Karis in to make sure that there's nothing that prohibits us from closing. And hopefully, within the next couple of days, we'll have a closing date.
Okay. David, I don't think you were with us. Rob, you may or may not have been a part of this, and Paul Grady, likewise, might not have been part of the meetings in which we did receive a firm bid for the Heather Drive lot that the trust owns. The bid was for $90,000. It was a sole bid. The trust voted to accept the bid. The funds would go to the trust. Okay, and the purchaser is the direct abutter. So things have a way of working out, I suppose, and this is a good example. The trust made it clear from the outset that our goal was to sell the property, not to develop it. And I think there was some doubts in the abutter's mind as to whether or not that would carry through. And he's alleviated his own concerns by buying the property. Okay. All right. Any questions regarding that? Superb. By the way, let the meeting notes reflect that David Pfeiffer joined the meeting
Good morning.
approximately 10 minutes ago, 15 minutes ago. So that would make it about 9:11 or thereabouts. Okay. And the administrative side, guys, we've got a meeting scheduled for October 9. So please mark your calendars. Obviously, Cassandra will send out the invitation. Has everybody reviewed minutes for the June 12 and July 10 meetings?
Actually, Steve, for the next meeting,
Yes.
can we put on the agenda approval? I got a new investment policy statement from our I forget the name of the company that manages our money.
Right.
If we could go over that and approve that in the next meeting. I just got that yesterday, otherwise I would have put it on this one. Been a lot of back and forth, they had, on it. But I think it's in good shape now, ready for approval.
Okay, good. Super. Thanks. Cassandra, please make sure that that's included on our next agenda.
And I'll send a copy to Cassandra for distribution beforehand.
Okay, great. Thank you. All right, moving on again to minutes approval. June 10 and June 12 and July 10. Are there any comments on the minutes as recorded? All right. Topics not anticipated 48 hours in advance of this meeting. I have one because it just popped into my mind, and that is that, by way of a show of hands, and assuming that we can arrange such things, who is in favor of attempting to schedule some of these meetings as in person?
I'd be glad to.
Okay. I know the issue that we've had at hand at this point is recording. And I'll talk to Cassandra to figure out how we might be able to do such a thing. But assuming that we can record the meeting, which has a direct impact on minutes, I would very much like it if we could get going with this stuff in person again. I like the convenience of Zoom, but I think there's something lost on it.
Could we shoot for a hybrid so that even if everybody's there, it records on Zoom?
We could shoot for a hybrid, but again, I have to talk to Cassandra about what
Yeah.
facilities are available. Again, the town infrastructure is a bit scattered at the moment. I think that's a gentle way of putting it.
Mhm.
I know, Paul, I'm not asking, don't even go there. But it's as a result of that, it's hard for me to determine, and without Cassandra's help, it's impossible actually for me to determine what facilities we might have available to us for recording the meetings.
Understood.
Okay.
Also, it does not look like I have any calls from Rob.
Okay. Guys, if there are no further conversations to be had, I ask for a motion to adjourn.
What, Steve? Don't we need to approve the invoices for payment to MHTL? You have that on the administrative list, and there's the HOA for insurance approval.
Hold on. Am I looking at, I'm looking at the 11th. I don't see it on the administrative, next meeting dates, minutes approval, topics not anticipated.
Yeah, Steve, those invoices, insurance, minutes approval, those are all on the agenda that we have posted publicly for today.
Hey, hang on a second. This is what I've got. Let me see if I can just reduce it a little bit.
Maybe can we check in with Cassandra, because I think we all pulled up the most recent one that she sent us.
Yeah, the one that I had posted and the one that's attached to the meeting invitation has the invoices. You might be referencing the draft that I had sent you, Steve, and I think I received the invoices after I had sent you the draft.
Well, fair enough. I obviously don't have the latest. So I'm going to defer to you, Cassandra, because I'm not reading the invoice. All right, not reading the latest agenda. Could you put it up on screen share?
The agenda or the invoices?
The latest agenda.
Sure. Are you seeing? Yes, okay.
Okay. Great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. So let's take it at the MHTL, which is our, you folks may recognize is our council. Invoices ending in 5455 and 56, which I believe are related to meetings May through July. Is that correct?
That sounds right.
Okay. Any questions or comments on these invoices? Okay, hearing none. Can I have a motion to approve payment?
So moved.
Motion to approve payment?
All right.
Seconded.
All right, great. Thank you. Rob Henry by hand signal says aye. Rob Jeffers,
Rob Jeffers, aye.
David Pfeiffer,
David Pfeiffer, aye.
Ted Carr.
Nay,
Okay. Paul Grady.
All Grady, aye.
All right. Cindy Matheson
Cindy Matheson, aye.
and Steve Gomer, aye. The motion is approved for payment. Although the chair is simply curious. Ted, do you want to offer a reason? Don't have to, of course.
I think recently we learned that we have been paying promptly and work was not done by the firm due to transition. And it would be my preference to hold off on payments until they catch up on our behalf. But the motion carries, so I'm done with that
Yeah,
one.
no, the motion carried. Let the record reflect Ted's comments because they're valid in the chair's view. Okay, HOA and insurance for 43 Elm Street, August through October.
Steve, sorry, Cindy has her hand up.
Oh, I'm sorry, Cindy, I didn't see you. Go ahead.
It might have come up in a little bit of discussion, but I tend to agree with Ted, although I have voted aye to just keep things moving. That when we were discussing why things or how things got forgotten with the previous council not carrying through in the transition on the issue of the price limit, that there must be some sort of recourse to go back a little bit to the law firm and say, this should have been, or somehow we might request some compensation for the fact that they dropped the ball.
That's worth considering for certain. I have two different views of this. One is the obvious one that both you and Ted enumerate here. The second is that are we trying to gain compensation from the firm? Or are we trying to gain compensation from the event? And it's important, but the fact of the matter is, and this is the material fact, I think that we make the point clearly to Murphy Hesse, Toomey and Lehane, and let them know of our dissatisfaction. Having said that, even if we had the lip in place, if the ball hadn't been dropped in transitions between both personnel in the town and personnel at Murphy Hesse, which occurred pretty much in the same period, the fact of the matter is that we are not ready to sell the property. We're not even close. So even if it were all in place now, late, or it is in place 6 weeks from now, it doesn't appear that the property is ready to market in any case.
Fair enough.
Okay. So, and I'm not saying that that's, I guess what I'm driving at is that we could squawk about this. And if it truly held up our transaction, I would agree with both of you wholeheartedly. It's not holding up our transaction. We are holding up our transaction.
The last thing I want to do is add any more roadblocks into getting this done as quickly as possible. So
Right.
reason for voting aye right now.
Okay,
Yeah. Also, Paul Grady has his hand up, Steve. I don't know if you see that.
Paul, I don't at the moment, but Paul, go ahead.
I missed that, and I just want to jump on the bandwagon with Ted and say I do agree with him 100%. Is that there should be some sort of accountability. I understand that it's not holding up the sale, but mistakes were made or things were allowed to lapse, and I didn't pick up on that. My apologies, and thank you, Ted, for bringing that up. But I want to
I
add my
suspect,
voice to the list.
yeah, thank you. I suspect we've already paid them for the work that we're discussing for them to catch up on. That's my point. I bet if we went back and looked at our invoices, we've already paid. So there needs to be some adjustment.
For just so that you all are aware, I have had some direct and frank one-on-one conversations with our council about this very subject. I haven't pursued compensation. I have, I've expressed our dissatisfaction. And you heard some of that wrapped in, in professional speak this morning, which really amounts to, a thorough apology for what is a gaping hole in service. I think we can, if you wish, and I'm happy to do it, we can pursue some level of compensation. Having said that, there is a risk, and that risk is that in doing that, they may say, you know what, we shouldn't go any further. There is the potential that they would ask to, be removed as our counsel. And so it's a delicate time. And Paul, I agree with you. I agree with Ted's view as well. But I think we have to look at this from the perspective of what we expect from past work or lack of it, what we expect for future work, but what is just as importantly, what gets us over the finish line now. If we have to go hire a contractor to complete the job of getting the unit ready, and we have to bring in new counsel, bring them up to speed, get a LIP application done, rewrite the deed, etc., I think we're pushing ourselves right into a corner. And I look, I don't like it any more than any of you do. We do have to look at it from a very cold and practical matter. Our job is to get this unit back on the market, get it back in inventory. As a matter of fact, get it in inventory because it's not there now. That's what the LIP does. It brings this unit into our affordable housing inventory, our SHI inventory. Anything that delays that is contrary to our role as a trust. And so I am personally concerned that taking a combative approach with our law firm at the moment is contrary to the task.
Steve,
Yeah.
I would just be about maybe, sorry to interrupt, I hope I didn't.
No, no, please do. That's the whole point of it.
I would see about on a case like this is, just seeing that it doesn't happen again.
Well, I think that might.
That's, I'm not looking for, me personally, I don't know. I understand we don't want to lose the firm right now midstream. Just seeing that it doesn't happen again, that it has caused us a little bit of angst.
I think it's worthwhile to express that formally. And by that, I mean, put it in writing. I'm happy to draft a letter for the trust's review, editorial and an approval, and send it off as exactly that, an expression of our dissatisfaction.
Look, if I may.
Yeah, go ahead.
We're not a priority to them. That is my read of this. And I don't want to lose them either. And maybe the attitude ought to be, we're delighted to consider your outstanding invoices as soon as you catch up. We need to give them some signal that they need to be we need to be a priority to them. I don't care about the money. I think they're doing a fine job. We're not important enough to them for $1,500.
Well, and let me take that under advisement and come back to you, come back to you collectively. Because that might be the way of doing it. Look, and unless someone wishes to move to reconsider on the previous motion, we'll go ahead and pay these invoices. And and make that we can vote to make that very same statement for future invoices. Because the work is just, what we're looking at now, I do not believe includes any real billable hours on the LIP application and the resulting restatement of deed. Cindy?
I don't know if it's a reconsideration, Steve, but I have to say I do agree with Ted. You know, you pay for services rendered. If you're saying that they've already been rendered and we're paying things that have already been done, but I do have to say I agree with Ted. And I missed that cue earlier. I may have voted no. I will say that until they're up to date. That's just my thought. You know, I'm a firm believer in paying for services when they're done and during the process.
Right, and I believe, like I said, specifically to these invoices, I believe that the work has already been conducted, and what we're looking at now is work that should have been done, has not been done. Right, as a matter of fact, it was really a challenge that came out of, I believe, the June meeting, in which the initial sale price was proffered at $108,000, and there were 4 of us at the meeting, and I remember we all looked at each other and said, that doesn't sound quite right, because that's not how we concluded that we wanted to buy the property.
Exactly. And that's why I'm sorry to interject here as well. I want to move this forward. I'm still going to vote aye into paying the bills, but Ted makes the point, we're not important enough. We need your full attention on this. Had we not been able to go back and find the email that discussed exactly what was supposed to be going on, and I'm not trying to lay blame, because Lauren Lynn was transitioning around the same time, as was Amara. So we may as well be at fault in terms of letting things fall between the cracks. But if we hadn't found that, we would be looking at a loss likely in reselling. Now we would still get it onto our SHI, the 43 Elm, but we would be doing so at a loss to the trust, and we would never have made that decision to take on this property if we knew we were going to have a loss as a result, just to get it onto the affordable housing rolls. So it's more of a, please, you've got to help us pay attention to this, and whatever goes on in the management at the law firm that is, I would assume, responsible for proper transition, it's something just to bring to their attention, because it would be a significant cost to us on the Affordable Housing Trust.
A couple of observations. One is that, yeah, we're not a big client, Ted, Paul, we're not. You can't look at this and say, for the total of $6,000 to $9,000 a year that we're a big deal. However, we do not ever keep them waiting on payment of their invoices, and law firms typically go out 120 days for payment, right? We're net 30, unless there's a problem in the back office at the town. So that's number one. Number two, we're not a heavy lift. We don't require great services. My assumption is that most of the work that we generate can be handed off to a paralegal. So we're extraordinarily profitable. But it reminds me of, in my world, there's a saying that it's never the probability of the outcome, but it's always the magnitude of the event. So even though we're a small spec on Murphy Hesse's ledger, all you got to do is make one big mistake for that small client, and the ripple effect can be enormous. Because why? Because we're part of their core business, which is municipal municipal legal advice. And so I think there's a lot for Murphy Hesse to pay attention to as a firm. As I said, I think, you know, you, Ted, bring up a very good point about this. Cindy, you emphasized, you did emphasize that if we didn't have the background material at hand, which is to say, if you didn't have it available. By the way, thank you for doing that on vacation.
I'm just concerned about our fiduciary responsibility on the trust.
Right. No, then, you know, we would have been scrambling on this. We would not, I was very clear in my recall that we bought it on the basis of a potential resale, which would allow us enough, plenty of headroom to make necessary renovations. So I think we would have eventually got there, but we were able to turn it fast because you had those minutes, the referencing documents and communication between South Shore Habitat and ourselves and the state. All right, guys. So I want to wrap this up and not leave it as a thorn in anybody's hand. Can I conclude that there is not a motion to reconsider on this item? Anybody? Okay, I see a lot of nonverbal cues, but I could hear some, if you could give me some voices, that would be helpful.
Not
I do
for-
not intend
not-
to make that motion.
Neither do I.
Okay,
Me either.
all right.
Now
Ted,
that
Ted, you can't because you voted no.
Yeah, but I can still complain, can't I?
Oh, you can. By the way, just for those of you who are wondering what the hell I'm talking about, a motion to reconsider can be made by someone who voted in the affirmative for a motion that has passed, but now wishes to reconsider or change their mind, potentially change their mind.
Steve, I get a second, but I'd make that motion.
You make a motion to reconsider.
Yes.
All right, there is a motion to reconsider on the table with respect to payment for invoices to Murphy, Toomey, Hesse, and Lehane. Do I hear a second?
Okay. Second,
Okay.
in
we
the-
have a mo-
can we discuss for a second?
Well, yeah,
um,
that'll come next. So we have a motion and a second. All right, discussion. Floor is now open.
Look, they should also have the opportunity to review their invoices with us. They probably billed us for work that they didn't do. I'm just guessing. It happens all the time. So they should have the opportunity to review their own invoices and see if they want to adjust us. This is not a catastrophic thing. I think we should be entitled to pump our brakes, and they should be able to review their invoices.
Okay.
And this is a thoughtful way to encourage them to pay attention to our little clubhouse.
All right, further comment.
Hey, Doug, I hope I'm just sorry, Steve. I'm just going to say I agree with Ted on that. I think you actually what made me do it was when you're saying we're net 30. We're not a huge client, but I'd say that we're a very good client. Bills are paid like clockwork, and you know it is inherent on them to keep their eye on the ball and to carry us through. So again, that's where I agree with Ted. And then when you said the net 30, that really just gave me some room. The rest are 120 days out. We may not be the biggest, but then I'd like to say that probably one of the best then.
All right, further comment? Anything from David, Cindy? Rob Jeffers?
Nope.
Rob Henry?
Steve, I'm still torn. Now, the last thing I want to do is hold up any further progress on getting things done. If given now, I would add in that it sounds like Mr. Barrows is suggesting it could be more like 3 months as opposed to 6 weeks getting this all done. Is that our more realistic time frame? In which case, asking them, as Ted has suggested, to go back and look at the invoices with us, maybe that doesn't hold up the process as much as we might have thought, or I might have thought.
Okay. My comment to the trust, I would encompass that which I've already said, but it also should be included in this. Yeah, I simply ask, what is it we're trying to accomplish, right? Can that be accomplished in any other means? Payment versus non-payment, right? If you believe that the only way to do this is to hold invoices aside and until you receive what? What is it you're looking to receive? An assurance, a confirmation that you're right, that, you know, and that's the reason I bring this forward, because one can be done without the other. I want to be certain that the trust is not acting in a way that is reactive or punitive, but rather diligent and thoughtful.
We
Right.
don't.
Go ahead, please, Cindy. Just go right ahead, Cindy.
I agree with that. We don't want to be counterproductive to the end goal, which is getting this thing done and on the market.
Well, but in this case, I'm talking about the end goal with respect to the council.
Mhm.
Okay, that's what I'm doing. That's what I'm addressing. So I want you to, that's the thought that I ask you all to carry with you, is what is it we're trying to accomplish in doing this?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think it's just sort of, in my opinion, back to our fiduciary responsibility. I suspect we may have overpaid thus far. And so if that's the case, it is responsible for us to review our billings with them and them review their billings with us. This only means that in our October meeting, we can vote on it. I mean, this is not punitive. This is us just doing appropriate due diligence. And frankly, if this little exercise here doesn't pass, I'm also fine with that. I just felt I should speak up.
Okay. All right, is there further commentary? All right, well, if not, we can move to a vote on the move to reconsider. This is not a vote on payment of the invoices, but whether or not we will move on that very same item in still another motion.
I move that we reconsider.
Okay, so there's a motion on the table to, it's moved it, forgive me, Paul.
No.
Need a motion to close discussion.
I'll make that so moved.
Okay, thank you. Second?
Second.
All right. Once again, around the horn, Ted Carr?
I'm in favor of reconsideration.
No, right now we're just voting to close discussion so we can get to the vote on consideration.
Fine, that's fine.
Okay.
Yep.
Cindy Matheson?
Cindy Matheson, aye.
Okay. Rob Henry? Okay, Rob Henry signals aye. David Pfeiffer?
David Piper, aye.
Rob Jeffers?
Rob Jeffers, aye.
Steve Gomer, aye. Motion to close discussion passes. All right, now we move to a vote of reconsideration. And once again, an aye vote is a move to reconsider. A nay vote is a vote to keep the discussion, to keep the original vote. So once again, this is, I'm asking for an aye vote as a move to reconsider, a nay vote to retain the existing motion as it has passed. Rob Henry. Rob Henry votes aye. Okay. David Pfeiffer.
David Piper, aye.
Rob Jeffers.
Rob Jeffers, nay.
Ted Carr.
Ted Carr, aye.
Cindy Matheson.
Cindy Matheson, aye.
All right, and Steve Gomer, nay. Feel like I should explain my vote. I believe that we can accomplish the same thing without taking hostages.
Steve?
Having said, I'm sorry, Paul, I missed you. My apologies.
Go ahead.
Paul Grady.
Aye.
Okay,
Sure.
the motion to reconsider passes. Okay, Now, if I may, let's go back to the original question as to payment of the Murphy Hesse Toomey outstanding invoices 44544 ending 4445 and 46. All right. Do I have a motion to pay these invoices?
So moved.
Okay, do I have a second?
Seconded.
Okay, motion and a second to pay the Murphy Hesse invoices, so noted. Once again, is there any further discussion? Good, all right, let's move to a vote. Rob Henry, now, Rob, you're voting aye to pay the invoices, correct? Okay, thank you. David Pfeiffer,
David Pfeiffer, aye.
okay, Ted Carr,
Ted Carr, nay.
all right, Rob Jeffers,
Rob Jeffers, aye.
Cindy Matheson,
Cindy Matheson, nay.
all right, Paul Grady,
Paul Grady, nay.
and I think I'm the last one left, Steve Gomer. I vote aye, but the motion to pay invoices does not carry. I have a count of 4-3. Cassandra, I think you may have the same thing.
No.
Yeah, 4 ayes. Yeah.
Yeah,
4 ayes.
you have 4 to
Forgive me.
3, but you have 4 ayes.
Four ayes to pay. My apologies. I was miscounting. My apologies. So the motion carries to pay. So with that, I will take under advisement the fulsome discussion we had here on this. And I believe that it's worth saying that this goes on next meeting's agenda to review with Murphy Hesse and the trust as a whole their detailed invoice and our concerns about their timeliness and quality of work on our behalf. Is there any other conversation about this?
It would be nice. I'm glad we could accommodate their request to cut their time short. This was a well-publicized meeting. It would be wonderful. We need legal help, that they could block the time for our next meeting to remain with us.
Yep. And for what it's worth, we do pay an hourly rate for their attending. So it's not a charity for our council to attend our meetings. It's a,
Yep. So
All right.
it'd be great. It would be great if they could hang in an hour.
Yeah. They should be here. I do fully agree with Ted on that. And I do want a thorough accounting in our next meeting of everything.
well, again, that is an agenda item now. I know Cassandra's, we're gonna make a note of it, so it'll be an agenda item on the October meeting. Okay. All right, Cassandra, could you summarize for us the invoice on the August to October coverage?
Yes. Let me just pull it up again so I'm not misquoting. So this is the invoice. It includes the 3-month builder's risk insurance from July through the end of October and August through October.
Okay.
I think I had specified in the agenda, and I can't pull them up at the same time. So typically the way that the trust pays is they will pay for months that have already begun with the HOA. So when I submit this invoice, it'll be to pay the August and September condo fees and then the 3-month builder's risk for July through October, because that policy is already in effect. It will not include the October HOA because October has not started yet.
Okay. This is a great demonstration of the ongoing soft costs for carrying the property without having it either occupied or sold. And, you know, you guys can do the math, right? I think we originally closed on this July of 22. That about right? So just knock down the quarters between then and now. There's 8 quarters, multiply it out times approximately 4,000. That's the soft cost. That's what it costs to carry this. Right, the big expense, of course, is not the condo fee, but the builder's risk insurance. And a good chunk of that has been for time in which there is really no ongoing construction, especially the first several months we owned it. And then more recently, the past 2.5 or 3. The money's due, and without that builder's risk insurance, I don't think there's any builder that wants to come on site. So I don't think we have choices, and we certainly don't have choices with respect to the condo fee. That's the view of the chair. So having said that, is there further discussion on this particular invoice?
No.
All right. The chair entertains a motion again.
So moved.
Thank you very much to pay this invoice. We've got a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right. Let's go around the horn. Move to pay the invoice as noted, $3,992.59. Cindy Matheson?
Just to clarify, is that the actual amount that we're paying since Cassandra said that she was taking out the October?
Correct. It would be the just under 4,000 minus the 256.13. The 256.13 should be another separate vote at your October meeting. So you will see this invoice again.
So can we have the exact amount that we're voting on?
Yeah, can you hang on a second?
It's $3,736.46.
I concur. She's faster with a calculator than I am. All right. Any other questions with respect to the invoice or its amount? None? Okay. Once again, around the horn for approval. Motion to approve is on the table. It's been seconded. Cindy Matheson.
Cindy Matheson, aye.
Rob Henry. Okay, thanks, Rob. David Pfeiffer.
David Pfeiffer, aye.
Rob Jeffers.
Rob Jeffers, aye.
Ted Carr.
Ted Carr, aye.
Paul Grady.
Paul Grady, aye.
Thank you. And Steve Gomer, aye. All right, motion passes. And last but not least, minutes. This is where we get started. We went off the rails 20 minutes ago. So
I think we approved them.
I was just going to
Oh,
say,
yeah.
I think you already approved the
Mhm.
minutes.
I don't think we voted, actually. We
I
mentioned them.
I don't believe it actually came up for a vote.
It did not.
Thank you. So have the minutes been reviewed? And are you ready for a vote on approval?
Yes.
All right, so we would signify that by moving. to
So
approve.
moved.
Second,
All right, motion and a second is in front of us. Cindy Matheson,
Cindy Matheson, aye.
Rob Henry. Rob Henry signals aye. Ted Carr,
Aye.
Paul Grady,
Paul Grady, aye.
and David Pfeiffer. Is David
David
Pfeiffer
Pfeiffer, aye.
and Steve Gomer, aye. All right.
Rob Jeffers, aye too.
Rob, I apologize.
It's okay. Go, go, go.
The way my screen's set up, I can't see everybody all at once, and anyway, my apologies. Right, so motion is approved unanimously. We have no other topics before October 9.
Motion to adjourn?
What? Just a second. Chair has one last note to make. Rob, I'm sorry your voice wasn't available to be heard today, Rob Henry. But I'm sure that between you and Michelle and Ted, you'll keep me apprised of anything that you need from us including labor. Other than that, yes, let's go ahead and make a motion to adjourn, which has been made by Rob Jeffrey.
I'll second Rob's motion.
Thanks, Paul. All right, Cindy Matheson,
Cindy Matheson, I.
Rob Henry. Rob Henry signals aye. David Pfeiffer,
David Pfeiffer, aye.
Paul Grady,
Already, aye.
Ted Carr,
Car, aye.
Rob Jeffers,
Rob Jeffers, aye.
and Steve Gomer, aye. Thank you all for your generous allowance of time. Take care, and I'll see you again shortly.
Have a great day, everybody.
Bye-bye.